Thank you for having me back. And Leslie, thank you for your help here today, as well as I see Willow's here in the presentation as well. So nice to see all of you. I'm always happy to be part of the Stony Brook presentations, and I'm really grateful because my whole practice, Love Law Firm, is focused on helping small business owners succeed. I spent 25 years of my career working on Wall Street, helping the large financial institutions, private equity, insurance companies succeed in their business. And what I realized is, number one, I really like small business owners. And number two, I wanted to bring that same type of lawyering and dedication and counsel that the Wall Street titans get down to my clients who work on Main Street. And so that's what Love Law Firm is all about, is we help small business owners succeed, and we focus on their legal needs. And our practice is geared toward helping them. I've been an attorney for a little over 30 years now. I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs throughout New York State and elsewhere start up, grow, succeed. And I'm lucky because I have a job I love. In fact, it's not a job anymore. It's just a passion that I have. And so I'm one of those lucky people who wakes up every single day and is glad to get to do what I do. And so it makes me uniquely qualified to get to share this presentation, because it's built on what I've learned throughout my career and by working with so many different business owners across business lines, across nationalities, across interest, across everything. This is a distillation of what I've seen that can make or break a company. I'm going to try and make this as interactive as possible. If you have a question or you don't understand something, please put it in the chat. Leslie's going to help keep me in line with if there's a question and I haven't noticed it, because it's hard for me. You may see my eyes darting around. I have a strip of people here. I have the chat. I have the presentation. So I'm going to get some help on making sure I answer your questions today. As you may know, every single month in the United States, more than 500,000 new businesses are formed. That means well over 6 million new businesses start up each year in the United States. And I'm here to tell you some bad facts. Unfortunately, 1/3 of them are going to fold in the first 6 months. A full third will be gone. The next 50% of all those businesses are going to fail in their first year. And 80% will be gone in the first 18 months. So the odds are stacked against small businesses unless they understand how to start, how to grow, how to get money, and how to get through those first critical 18 months. Those are make or break. And then the next hurdle is 10 years. Only 4% of the businesses that start today will still be in business 10 years from now. Now, I have the privilege of working with a number of businesses that have passed that 10-year mark. I have a lot of businesses that have passed the 18 months. And so I want to share today some of the secrets and tips to success about how to get there. And it includes a mixture of legal advice as well as just solid business principles. So let's dive into it. All right. That's me once again. And here we go, the statistics I just shared with you. What is the first reason that I've discovered for why businesses fail? It's simply because they started for the wrong reason. I talk to entrepreneurs every single day, and I hear things like, well, I hate my job and I just have to get out of here, or I can't stand my boss, or I really need to make money and I need to make it fast. Or I'm bored, I need to do something. Or I'm not sure what I want to do, so I think I'm going to go into business. I'm here to tell you that all of those reasons are not the best reasons to start your business. Now, I get it. Lots of people start business because they do dislike where they are right now. And the number one reason why people leave jobs is not the work they're doing, but the management that they have, rather than the work they have. So I get that bosses push people into entrepreneurship far more than many other things. But really, the reason why you should be starting a business is because you're running toward an opportunity and not from a problem. Remember, the whole point of your business is to bring about a solution to people. People don't want to buy your old problem, right? They don't want to buy your problem and the reason why you've set up a business and you don't know what to do. They want you to help them. And so you have to come up with and understand what is the solution you're bringing to people. In addition to that, there are a lot of qualities of an entrepreneur that you need to have. And I'm telling you, being an entrepreneur is one of the hardest things you will ever do. You have to be able and willing to take on new responsibilities and try new things. And I can tell you, there are a lot of tasks as myself. I'm an entrepreneur learning how to do things for the first time and going, I've never had to do this. And yet I'm going to roll up my sleeves and figure it out. Another thing, you have to be willing to work hard and often, and you have to have a level of optimism that's hard to beat because it can be difficult. And there are times when you go, oh my goodness, I'm not sure that this is going to work, or I'm not sure how I'm going to get through it. But if you have optimism, it will help you through those times. You know, there was a gentleman who wrote a screenplay and he loved it. He thought it was really a great screenplay. And he went and he shopped it around to a bunch of different studios, and all the studios wanted to buy it. There was, in fact, a bidding war for it. But the problem is they wouldn't let him star in the movie, and he wrote the movie for himself. So he ultimately went with one producer that was willing to let him star, but he gave him a lot less money up front. And that gentleman was Sylvester Stallone. That movie was Rocky. He won an Oscar for it. He created a franchise and he created a way of life, because we all know how many Rockies have there been and spinoffs and the cultural phenomenon that it was. He had an optimism about what he could bring to this role and to that movie that no one else could bring. And he was willing to not settle until he got what he needed to do. That's the type of optimism I'm talking about, is that belief in yourself, belief that you are unique and able to help and bring something that no one else has. So what do you do? I love these two quotes, both by different presidents of the United States. Nothing in the world can take the place of perseverance. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost legendary. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Perseverance and determination alone are omnipotent. And Dwight Eisenhower, what counts is not, and everyone knows this, is not necessarily the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. And I tell you, every week my son goes to this pool gym program, and it's almost like a little CrossFit for kids. He's only 7. And on the way, we do this whole mindset mantra, and we talk about hard work. And we say this: hard work beats talent. Hard work beats luck. Hard work beats everything. And it's so true. It's so true. It's whether you're working out, whether you're working in your business, whatever you're doing, hard work will beat everything if other people don't step up and do the hard work too. And that's what entrepreneurship is about. I want to share with you 2 resources about this section. One, there's this cool question: should you be an entrepreneur? It's on Harvard Business Review, and you can see it's back from 2010, but it's still a great questionnaire, and you can go ahead and take it on your own time, but it's very interesting. And the other is this book, which is one of my absolute favorite books in my entire life, The Art of Possibility, and it's by Rosamund and Benjamin Zander. Now, Ben Zander is the conductor of the Boston Philharmonic, which is both a professional and amateur orchestra, and they're absolutely amazing. And I had the privilege of listening to Ben give a presentation. It may almost be 20 years ago now. And it was transformative in my life. And I absolutely love this book because it talks about changing your mindset for how you approach basically everything. And one of the examples he gives in the book is, I love it. Two salesmen are sent to this faraway country, and they're both shoe salesmen. And they're there for a week. And after a week, one calls back to his boss and he says, the situation is hopeless. They don't wear shoes here. And the other guy calls back to his boss and he says, there is unlimited possibility here. The people don't have shoes. And that to me is amazing because it shows the difference how a mindset approach changes whether you're going to be a successful entrepreneur or an unsuccessful one. So I highly recommend this book. And I want to say, okay, maybe you've already started your business and you're going, oh God, I started it because I hate my boss, or I started it because I didn't know what to do, or I started it. That's fine. We can all always reset and get ourselves focusing on, what can I bring? What solution do I have to offer people? And how can I do more than what other people can bring to the situation? Let me pause for a moment. Leslie, are there any questions or comments that I need to know about right now? Excellent. All right. So this goes to exactly what Ronnie was talking about before. What's the second reason why I've seen businesses fail? They don't have a plan. They just simply don't know where they're going. And as Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, which is why I don't speak French and other people do. Silly comment, back in the day when I was in high school, we all had to take 3 years of foreign language. And the first day I went to one of the Romance language classes, Spanish, and they heard my accent and then they said, German is a great language for you. And so I ended up doing 3 years of German. So anyway, Antoine, who wrote, I think he's the one who wrote The Little Prince and those books, he said, a goal without a plan is just a wish. And that is so very true. I can't wait to earn $1 million. I'm going to break 6 figures this year. I'm going to dominate this market. Okay, how are you going to get there? Show me how. And it all comes down to a business plan. Now, the good thing is my friends here at the Stony Brook SBA, they're able to help you. They can help you formulate a good business plan. They know how to help write them. They know what makes them compelling. They know what makes lenders become interested in them. They understand the components. And I want to go through just a few of them to help you in case you haven't yet written your own plan. What should it have? A strategic vision of where you intend to go, your understanding of the marketplace in which you operate, an analysis of your chief competitors, a strength and weakness assessment of you and your offering, sales expense forecast goals, a marketing and advertising strategy, and a management plan. And that's just the top of it all. There may be other things that are different based on the industry or the marketplace that you intend to reach. But these are the types of questions that you need to understand and be willing to answer. I find lots of people come to me and they're like, well, I had someone the other day, I'm a doctor, an MD, and I'm going to open up my own professional practice. I said, great. Once you get started, how are you going to find clients? Well, they come to me. Right. And back in the day, that used to be the case. Professionals, and any type of licensed professional could hang the license out on their shingle and people would come. And that's not the case these days. Simply telling people that you're in business isn't enough to drive them to you. You have to offer a compelling reason for people to come to you. And so often I talk to my clients about, what's your client acquisition plan? How are you going to make the investment you're taking right now today by forming your business with our law firm and make it grow and be successful? So these are some of the questions. Resources, SBA, here's a sample tool. I know Stony Brook, you have it. SCORE has another one. But I want you to start thinking about, if you haven't written a business plan, to write one. And then on top of that, if you have written one, I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time I reviewed it? Because as you know, as you grow over time, your business changes. I wrote a business plan when I started my law firm 7 years ago. I've been in practice for years and years, but I didn't have my own firm until 7 years ago. My firm is dramatically different in size and scope and number of clients, et cetera, from the day that I started to now. Now I have multiple employees. I have hundreds of clients, hundreds of active clients right now. We have multiple chains of distribution where we're trying to reach out to people and get them to know us. It's such a different thing that my business plan has evolved and adopted throughout that time. So what else can we say? Well, I'm sorry. One of the most important things, though, again, that I think you need to focus on in your business plan is to tell the story of why. Now, one of my favorite business writers and thinkers is a gentleman named Simon Sinek. And I don't know how many of you have been able to see him. He has some amazing TED Talks. If you go to his website, he's just phenomenal. I love hearing him speak. I love his approach to how he thinks about business. I have his books, I give them out. But one of the things he talks about is, what is the why? Why are you doing this? Because if people don't believe why you do something, they're not going to buy what you have to offer. And so here are some of the why questions that I urge you in your business plan to be answering. Why are you entering this business? Why does the world need what you have to offer? Why do you get up in the morning? What is your passion? What do you do that no one else does? And why should you care that why should anyone care that you opened the business? Sinek is Simon's last name, Sinek, Simon Sinek. He's just amazing. So these are some of the questions that would be very helpful, because when people believe in you, they will buy what you want to sell them, right? They will understand you. People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? We know that. You know that. How do you pick your gardener? How do you pick the person you go to for massage therapy? How do you pick the person that tutors your kid? How do you pick anyone? It's someone you know, someone you like, someone you trust. And the reasons that you get to that is you understand why they're doing what they're doing, what compels them to offer this service. I love this quote by Oprah. The key to realizing a dream is to focus not on success, but significance. And then even the small steps and little victories along your path will take greater meaning. What can you do that brings significance, that brings meaning to what you are doing? And then that will help you be successful. So once you have this business plan that talks about why do you care about this? What are you doing? That talks about how you're different and what you're going to offer, that identifies your key client avatar and who they are. Who do you want to do why all of this is for? Who is that ideal person? Once you have all of that together, you need to share it, right? And you're going to have other professionals read it. Share it with your accountant, share it with your attorney, share it with your marketing person, have your family members read it. Encourage people to ask even what are considered silly questions, right? And because they're not silly, because if someone doesn't understand something you wrote, then you need to focus it and get it fixed. Make sure that your statements are backed up with real data and the facts, right? You can't just say, the pet companionship business is huge in America. Well, that's nice. But I got a lot of clients that actually are in pet services, boarding, dog walking, having places where you can go and drop them off, doggy daycare. They know exactly the size of how much money Americans spend on their pets every year. And they can tell you why and how it's broken up. So make sure you have data to support your statements. And then have your business plan tell a story. People like to read stories, right? I just read the Harry Potter series with my son. Absolutely captivated by them. Now we're on the Adventures of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, right? We're going to do the Three Musketeers. Why? These are big, sweeping, compelling stories. People want a story. Tell them the story. Tell them why you're doing this. Tell them what you're going to bring to them. Tell them how you're going to make their life better by having offered the product, the service, the good, whatever it is, to their life. These are things that will make your business plan work, which will then allow you and give you a guide map to where you need to go. So that's my second mistake that people need to not make, which is to fail to have a plan. Now, are there any questions about what we've shared? I see the chat's blowing up. Is there anything I need to know in the chat?
No, the chat is blowing up because I'm Googling things and popping them into the chat as you're talking about them.
Okay, awesome. So are there any questions so far about these first two mistakes to avoid? Nope. Excellent. Now we're going to get real. Okay. Third mistake to avoid: picking the wrong partner. Jim Rohn, who is a famous entrepreneur and guru for entrepreneurs, said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." So think about that, because it's true. I found it's true in my own life, and I'm sure you see it in there. And every day I meet with people who want to start businesses or have a business with someone else, and they come to me and they say, we're trying to either work through this or we're trying to form this entity. And I have to tell them, or I know in my mind, I may not necessarily say it, 80% of business partnerships will be unsuccessful. There will be a breakup in that, which, if we're thinking about the marriage stats, right? They say that 50% of marriages end in divorce. Well, business marriages, right? Business partnerships are even worse, right? Because there's less that bind us. There's 80% are going to be gone. So we need to think about, when we go into business with another person, we need to be thinking very carefully. Number one, how do we pick the right person? And number two, how do we protect our business in case things go wrong? The first thing you need to have are the essential documents of your business. And every single company needs to have this. I don't care if you're one person. I don't care if you're a 10 billion people company. These are the documents you need to have. If you are a company, right, a corporation, an Inc., then you need to have bylaws. So bylaws are basically the governing document of the business. It says we're going to meet on the second Tuesday of April of every year for our annual shareholder and board of director meeting. And special meetings can be called by X, Y, and Z. And when we get money, profits are paid out this way, and shares can be bought this way. And there's how many different classes of shares. And it talks about how taxes and other financial things are handled and who can represent them with the IRS, right? There's lots of things in bylaws. It's the stuff that make lawyers go, ooh, this is fun. And it makes everyone else kind of glaze over and wonder why they're having to read this. But these are important documents because it says how your business will run, and they're required by law. The second, a shareholders agreement, not required by law, but very, very smart if you have a business partner. A shareholders agreement is what you think it is. It's an agreement between the shareholders of the company, how they're going to operate. And we'll talk about this in a moment because it has an analogy to the operating agreement or a buy-sell, which is down here. So hold any questions on that. In a corporation, in addition to the bylaws and shareholder agreement, you want to have the stock. You have stock certificates, you issue them, and you keep a registry of the shares. Who owns the company? If you're an LLC, a limited liability company, then by law, you have to have a written operating agreement. And the operating agreement is similar to the bylaws in a corporation. How is the company run? When does it have to have meetings, if at all? A an LLC doesn't have to have meetings, while a corporation has statutorily required meetings. So LLCs are a little easier to operate. But if you're an LLC, you need to have an operating agreement. It says who runs what, how they run it, how the money's shared. And you have to have a registry of membership, who all is part of this company. And then if you have a partner, for both of them, you need to have a buy-sell agreement in place. A buy-sell simply says, how do I buy and sell my shares or interest in the company in case I ever need to leave? Now, that can be incorporated into a shareholders agreement or into an operating agreement, depending on when it's enacted.
Can I just say something here for
Of course,
a
Ronnie,
second?
please.
So one thing people need to know that you didn't include there, many people come to us or to me, and they've already filled out the articles of organization for the LLC, but they don't even realize that unless they do the publication, they will lose their LLC, or it won't be active or whatever. I think that's important to mention. It's also, because of that, one of the most important, the most expensive form of business, but it probably is the best form for many of the people who we're talking about. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to echo that, because that's a very important message, Ronnie.
Mm-hmm.
An LLC is more expensive initially to set up in New York, and it's because of this publication requirement that Ronnie alluded to. But it is ultimately less expensive and easier for entrepreneurs to run. A corporation is less expensive to start in New York State, but you have so many requirements of meetings and note-taking that it can be more expensive over time. So the components of forming a LLC properly in New York State are threefold. You have to file the articles of organization, you have to file the certificate of publication, and you have to have a written operating agreement in place. And many people, when they are on the do-it-yourself method to save money and time, they'll go to like a LegalZoom or someplace like that, and they'll file the articles of organization, but they're not really good at telling you that you need to do the publication. And publication, New York State's one of only 3 states in the US that still require it. It's kind of an archaic requirement where back in the day, people got their business news by looking at the newspaper. And so you can still see it today if you get the Long Island Business News or even Newsday or one of those. And you flip to the middle section, it's typically the middle, right? And it says legal notices, and it's all the stuff in small print that you don't want to read. That's where we have to write the notice of publication that an LLC is being formed. And it's for 6 weeks, and a weekly and a daily newspaper of record. And you have to get affidavits, and you have to file them with the state. And quite frankly, it's easiest to just leave it to professionals like us. We do it every single day, and we know how to get it done right. Because otherwise, as Ronnie said, you run the risk of not having access to courts, having your LLC not recognized by the state, and other bad consequences. So be sure, if you have an LLC, to get it published. And if you need help, reach out to us. We're happy to help you. We do that a lot, quite frankly, as we fix publication that hasn't been done. So if you have started a business and you have a business partner, though, one of the key things you need to do is have a buy-sell agreement. And like I said, we can build this into the shareholder agreement, the operating agreement, or it can be standalone. And this is the reason I tell people this every day. I want you, when you go into business with a friend, right? Because that's who we start businesses with, the people that we're friendly with, or maybe a family member. I want you to still have that same relationship, even if you're not in business together in a year or 5 years. I have a family right now that's working with me, and they're forming a business. And so we have multiple family relationships. And I said, I want you to every year be happy to see each other at Thanksgiving, at Christmas, at any event that the family has. This company should never, ever be a problem. And so if you need to get out, or if you need to not be a part of it, let's have escape valves so that people are able to do that and preserve both the relationship and preserve the company. Because I have one client, and it just came back the other day. He went into business with his former best friend. Now, guess what? They weren't former best friends when they started the business, right? They were best friends. They were childhood best friends since like 5th grade. These two guys were tight. They started the business. Then one of them gets married, and guess what? The wife doesn't like the other best friend, right? They don't get along. And so now all this tension, the business fell apart, and I had to come in at several years ago, and we had to negotiate the breakup. It hadn't been planned on, and so it was really nasty. It was a question, how do we value the company, who gets paid out, why, etc. It's very bad. And now several years later, there's a lawsuit coming in because the former business partner that we got away from didn't make payments on some things, and they're trying to drag my client back into it now. So it's so important to have a buy-sell agreement. So what is it? Basically, a buy-sell agreement says, if certain things happen, what do we do? How do you get out of the company? And it's things like, and I call them the D's, it's death, right? If someone dies, what happens to the company? If someone gets disabled, what happens to the company? What if we get into a dispute and we just can't agree? Because if we're 50-50 partners, now the only solution is to go to the court and have it dissolved, right? And that's not good. No one wants to ruin a company simply because people are being bullheaded. What do we do if we get in a dispute? What happens if one of us becomes disinterested and just wants to walk away? Hey, I've got other things to do, or maybe the life changes, right? Things happen, and now they have other things that need to take their priority, and the business can't. So what do we do in those situations? What do we do if they get divorced and part of their assets are this business, and now it's been awarded to a spouse, an ex-spouse, and you don't want to be in business with the ex-spouse? What if someone goes bankrupt and the creditors have been assigned the interest in the company? You don't want to be in business with them. What if someone just wants to retire? I'm tired. I want to go forward. So those are the questions that I sit with my clients and we negotiate and talk about. What would be fair? What do you want? Because right now, all of us are happy. All of us want this business to succeed. Everyone wants each other and to have the best interest in heart. What better time to talk about what would happen if one of us needs to leave? And those are important discussions to have. And if you have a business partner and you haven't had this discussion, please get a consultation with my office, get a consult with someone, and get this type of agreement in place, because you want to do it now while you're happy than later. Things we talk about. So these are trigger events: death, disability, divorce, disinterest, dispute. And then we say, okay, well, how are we going to do the buyout? What's the fair price? Now, sometimes the business is brand new and you don't know, I don't know. And there are different ways. We can pick a fixed value. We can pick an appraised value. We can do a formula, right? There are different reasons, and there are different methods, and there are different reasons for why you may do one of those. And we go through that with you, and we talk about, okay, well, if we have a trigger event and it's this, then how do we handle it? What's the price? And then how's the purchase completed? It's one thing to say, okay, if they die, then their estate is going to get 3 times the profit for the last 3 years, right? Or the average of the profit over the last 3 years, or something like that. How do you pay that? All up front? You have to give it all then? Or do you pay part? Do you finance it? Do you have a promissory note? What if you want to prepay? Like, there are questions about how do you pay it? Is there interest? Is there a penalty for prepayment, right? Is it by a check? Is it a wire? We answer all of those questions. We dig down deep so that everyone has certainty about what will happen if, God forbid, the worst happens. Another question is, who's eligible for ownership, right? Well, I want to be able to give it to my kids. And what if you go, I've met their kids and there's no way I want to be in business with either of them, right? So you got to talk about eligibility for ownership or transfer and other issues like that. So these are very important questions about it, and how to move forward. Let's see. Oh, one of the successful stories I wanted to share is it started out here on Long Island. Two guys, they were born 4 days apart. They grow up as childhood best friends. They met in a gym class. They double dated and they took a correspondence cooking class by mail together because they loved food. And they decided and they believed that the company they needed to start would profit themselves as well as the community. And that's, of course, Ben and Jerry's. They ultimately go up to Vermont, but they were also Long Island boys. And then I also think about the magicians, Penn and Teller. And one of the things that Penn said about his relationship with Teller, it's a business partnership. And I think we do better stuff together than we do separately. It's very easy. We have the same values and morality. And I think the nice thing is we care more about the show than we even care about each other. It's the same. You want to find the right person that you align with, that you agree with. And then even more importantly, you're going to put that in writing and you're going to do this buy-sell agreement, either put into your shareholder agreement or your operating agreement, so that if the worst happens, the business doesn't fall apart. The business can continue and one of you can exit on terms that you know are reasonable and were put in place when everyone wanted the best for one another. It's the best deal you're ever going to get, because I guarantee you one day it all happens. Someday you wake up and you just decide you don't like the way someone else parts their hair. And that's the end of it. You know, like it's crazy reasons why people don't like each other. And that can happen in even the best business relationships. Don't let it happen without having a buy-sell agreement in place between the two of you. Questions? Anything? Comments?
I don't have any questions. I think this is fantastic. It's giving us a lot of things to think about. So you may get questions afterwards.
Fair enough. Thank you, Randy. The last one is not having a good team. This is the fourth mistake that I see entrepreneurs make. And I love this agreement. I love this statement by Ben Franklin. Wise men don't need advice and fools won't take it. So let's talk about how can we go about getting advice. Look, I believe that every business should have an informal business council, right? I'm not talking about a board of directors. Board of directors are people who have a fiduciary responsibility to the business and have a lot of other requirements. I'm talking about have a strong network of people who are invested in seeing your business succeed, that you talk to regularly and get advice from and listen to. Because look, we don't all know it. I have mentors, I have coaches, I have people who sit with me and really help me learn more about my business and how I can do better. Every single person should have, every entrepreneur should have a whole group of mentors who inspire them to do more and do better. Who are some people that you should have in that? Well, no surprise, I think you should have a business attorney. And the reason for that is I see things all the time that if it had been corrected by a business attorney, it could have been a small mistake rather than the big mishigas that it became later. So I always believe in having a business attorney working with you if you can do it from the very beginning, and certainly as you grow and scale, because there are going to be complex issues that you face. There are contracts that are written that you need to really review. And I can guarantee you, everyone's going to say, oh, it's fair. I wrote it so that it's really good. And it's not quite, because maybe it's not meant from a bad point of view, but they got some piece of nonsense that they downloaded from the internet. That's a Frankenstein document they've sent to you and you don't want to sign it. So get a lawyer and become friends with them and have them help you on your business. The second friend you need to have, and just as important as a lawyer, is a CPA, right? Get yourself a financial person who understands how to do accounting and how to do your books. It's so important. You want to take advantage of every tax deduction that you possibly can. You want to take care of every, you pay your taxes and not get led away in handcuffs, right? You want to do this right. The CPA can help you plan and think for the future, how to get things done, how to get financing. Marketing and sales professionals, it does no good that you have a business and no one hears about it. You got to focus on how can you tell your why out to people? How can you share your business with people? Find a good marketing and salesperson. And a good insurance broker is valuable because you want to have insurance. You don't want to pay any of these claims on your own. Make sure you have good insurance. Get your general liability, get your professional liability if you need it. If you're making goods and products that are sold, get your product liability, because I can tell you one lawsuit is devastating for a business if you don't have insurance. Insurance often provides cost of defense in their coverages, and you want that, because otherwise one lawsuit can ruin a company. I tell people that I get people coming to me all the time. I want to sue. I don't like what they're doing. And I say, fine. I don't do litigation, but I have a litigator who will do it. But I can tell you that the minimum amount of money they will charge you to start, they won't start until you write them a check for $15,000. How many entrepreneurs have $15,000 that they can just put here for a litigation? No problem, right? Get insurance, have insurance, and buy good insurance. Don't buy crap insurance because it's cheap. You want insurance that will actually pay you, right? So get the right stuff. Get a business banker. It's always good to know a person in the bank who can help you with getting a new credit card, getting the best terms, getting the right bank account, getting you set up. Very important. And I know, Ronnie, you were sharing at the beginning that you guys have lots of bankers and loans and people like that. Talk to Ronnie, get these referrals. As you grow, you're going to want to have someone to help you with HR and payroll, a good payroll. Don't pay payroll. Don't do it like write checks on your own. There's so many taxes and things that you need to remit. Get a good payroll provider. I know good payroll providers that take on people with one employee, right? And they do it for like $25 a month. It's so worth it to have someone who knows what they're doing. They do this all the time. Then you do it. Get it, ultimately you may need an IT consultant. I now pay for one because I got a bunch of employees and all of us every day go, oh my God, why doesn't that work? And we can call someone. Get other successful entrepreneurs in your council. One of the smartest things I ever did is I formed a group called the Long Island Business Forum. I started this 6 years ago, and it's a group of successful entrepreneurs who meet together on a monthly basis, and we talk. We talk about what we're trying to do and how we're growing, and we challenge each other. And that group has changed and morphed over time. And right now we can kind of contracted it with all of COVID and everything going on. We're now down to a really small, tight-knit group. Everyone's in a different vertical. We meet monthly and everyone gets on a hot seat. So every 5 months, you're on the hot seat. What's going on with your business? How have you grown? What's going on? What's your biggest problem? How do you need to solve it? And we give answers and we give help and we give advice and we inspire each other, and we need it so desperately. So get yourself colleagues who are successful. Don't find other people who are just starting out like you. Find someone who's a little further ahead, right? And that's the cool thing about the group of 5 that are together. We're all at like different stages. We're all mature entrepreneurs, but our businesses have different challenges right now. And so it really makes for a very good and dynamic and interesting group. And also talk to your family members or a potential successor, right? Be looking for who else you want to help grow in the business. So find yourself a whole team who can surround you and help you with running your business and growing it. How do you select members? They should have appropriate experience. They should have a compatible background. They should be active in the community. Most importantly, they should play well with others. I tell people, when you hire Love Law Firm, if you tell me you have an accountant that you love, and we come up with a financial thing that's a issue, give me the phone number for your accountant. I will call them. I want to talk to them. The accountant and I should understand why each of us are giving advice. And maybe we're coming at it from different ways. Maybe they can persuade me. Maybe I can persuade them. But don't have two people who are not willing to talk and just telling you different things, right? Because there are times when an accountant will say, look, I know that down the line, they've told me that they intend to sell part of the assets. So I want them to hold this part of the business in a separate LLC so that we can ultimately, it'll be easy to break it off and sell it rather than have to tease out the assets if they go into the main LLC. Okay, great. I didn't know, they hadn't told me that. That wasn't a discussion they had with me. I was just like, well, you have an LLC, let's put it in there. Now I understand. I can form the new LLC. We can title everything properly. Have people who are willing to play with others, who are willing to talk to each other, who aren't going to be like, well, that's not you do that. No, it's your team. You're paying us for our advice and our expertise. Make sure you find people who are willing to do it in a nice way. Make sure the people you have want you to succeed, that they're on your side, right? And they believe in you, that they're available, that they want to talk to you. These are all things that I find to be key to having a successful business council, a team of advisors that will really help you. Mm-hmm. And at the end, I want to say, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, wait until you hire an amateur, right? Yes. I fix a lot of problems that I see because people kind of jerry-rigged something together. Don't do that. Invest in yourself. Invest in your business. It will ultimately pay off. Finally, although I heard someone start to speak, and I don't know if that was a question or a comment. Let me pause in case it was.
It was probably me clearing my throat and getting ready to talk.
Oh, okay.
So don't.
Yeah. Oh, Tony, nice to see you here. And you are absolutely right. Life and disability insurance are great funding sources in the buy-sell. And I remind people, though, that life insurance only helps when the other person dies. So you can't use it or think that just by buying insurance will help you for the disinterest or the dispute. But you're absolutely right, Tony. And I tell my people all the time that they should consider getting insurances like that to fund those vehicles. So thank you for sharing that. That's very important. Other mistakes that business owners can make. And these are just silly things that can ruin your business for no reason, right? Poor customer service. Let me tell you, think in your own life. How many businesses have you stopped going to because they treated you poorly? Mm-hmm. The list is endless. I had a favorite pizza place. Favorite, like we went there every week. Yeah, like we were, wow, we loved them. 3 times in a row, the new people were just rude, like beyond rude. Guess where I don't go anymore? And I loved this place. But you know what? I'm not going to be treated that way. Other mistakes, failing to delegate. You're going to grow. And as you grow, you have to learn to let go. And that's hard because I often think that I'm the best person ever to do everything, but I'm not. It's wrong. And you need to learn that for yourself. Let other people do it. And then I always find, like, I always think I'm the best person. And then I gave it to one of my people and he like blew it out of the water. I'm like, oh, wow, I really wasn't the best person. I'm glad I delegated. For example, I used to think that I was a person to make PowerPoints and make them look pretty. And then I hired my executive assistant, Deanna, who's amazing. And she happens to be, among other things, an artist. And so now look at my presentation. Isn't it nice? You don't want to see what this thing looked like when I did it. And I thought it was great. So don't be afraid to delegate. Don't delegate to the wrong people. Find the right people. Make sure you have a web presence. Everyone looks to the web as proof of life. I don't believe the company really exists unless I can go to Google, type in their name, and then find a website, find at least that the Google profile has been claimed, right? You want to get on there. Have a marketing plan, know where you are, know where you're going to do. Don't run out of money, right? Like, you got to budget, you got to figure it out, get the funding, get the financing, plan the money. Price your services and products correctly. And this is huge. I tell everyone this: do not be the cheapest in the market. Don't do it. Running to the race to the bottom will only destroy your company. There is always someone who is willing to be cheaper than you, always. You cannot differentiate on the basis of price alone. You have to differentiate based on the quality of your goods, services, product, how you treat people, the client experience. Don't be the cheapest, be the best. And what that means by best will be different for each company, but you have to understand and own it that way. The race to the, don't be part of the race to the bottom. It won't serve your company. Not understanding or underestimating your competition. Know who you're up against and why you're up against them and what they're doing. I meet monthly with my coach on SEO. And one of the things we do is we have a list of key competitors that I know are killing it in the marketplace. We're business attorneys in New York, and we go and we look and see what they're doing. I want to understand them. I want to learn from them. I want to make sure I know what's going on there. And also, finally, I have to say this, of course, do things properly and legally. Don't cut corners. Don't do things like that. It'll only come back and bite you. And we're here to help you. A small business attorney knows what you need to succeed. I help daily my clients. My law firm, we're fortunate. We have hundreds of clients who love us and love working with us, and they've now voted us for 3 years. We have a three-peat with the Long Island Business News. We have been named the best corporate law firm on Long Island and the best business formation law firm on Long Island. And that means a lot to us because we love starting businesses, we love growing them, and we love helping people monetize their business when it's time to exit. So you want to be sure to reach out to someone who understands the marketplace, who loves working with small businesses, and who can help you stay compliant and legal and doing things the right way. Let me pause and see if there's any questions.
Yes, we've got two.
Great.
Now, I'm trying to go back and find Renice. Wanted to know the story about the shoes. Was that an apocryphal story, or was that from someplace that we can read about?
I believe it's more apocryphal. It's in Benjamin Zander's book, The Art of Possibility. And I have it on my shelf behind me. I can flip through it and see, but I don't recall that he said, it was John from Acme Shoes. And, I think it's more apocryphal, but I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I use that all the time.
Yeah, I think it's a great about mindset.
What Susan wants to know if you handle trademarking.
Yes, we do.
Okay. And Mel would like to know, can you recommend an insurance company for general and product liability?
So I don't recommend insurance companies, but I do have an insurance broker that I often send people to. And I always tell my clients and people that I give referrals to that unlike other people, we don't accept any type of financial remuneration, kickback, gift. I don't even get Christmas cards from these guys, right? When I send you to someone, I never expect anything financially in return. And the reason for that is I always want my financial interests to be aligned with the people who come and are asking me for advice. So if you need an insurance broker, you can scan this code here and just shoot me in, or my email's right over there too, Francine at lovelawfirmpllc.com. Tell me that you're on this call and that you want to know the name of the gentleman that I use for insurance broker. I'm happy to share it with you. He's helped dozens my clients, and he helps them and gets it in, and he helps pick the right insurance company for them, and the you know, the risks that they have, the type of insurance they need, and the limits. So
you know, your list of people that you need in your business council that you called a business council.
Mhm.
I tell people that all the time. I don't know if
Yep.
they listen, but it's so important. And I also tell people, you know, sometimes people say you don't ask too many people because everyone has a different opinion and you can get yourself crazy. And I always feel this way. Ask everyone whose opinion matters to you, whose opinion you value,
Right.
because somewhere the truth gels. Do you know how you can talk to people and it's not just looking for agreement to what you already believe, but it's getting different perspectives, and somehow you can, you know, form the truth for yourself. So I just think that that's so valuable, and I appreciate that you said everything that you said was valuable.
Francine, how are you?
Oh, good to see you.
Great presentation.
Great.
Just to kind of piggyback on Ronnie on your team of advisors, I have been a commercial lender for many years, and one thing I didn't see on there is your banker and your lender.
No, she had that.
Oh,
I have banker.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I just wanted, then I will reiterate that because everybody
Banker.
needs to be properly funded.
Mhm.
I would just say that if your banker is telling you that you can't get money, or you've tried many places and you still want to go forward, that is a part of the due diligence process. And I would say that they have, you know, special formulations and all kinds of reviews that they do of your financial situation. And you might want to pay attention to that.
Yep.
And sometimes it's timing and opportunity. So you can work on your plan a little more, build up your financial reserves a little more, and then decide again to go forward. But, you know, we hear a lot in our position as business advisors that, you know, I couldn't get a loan, or they keep denying me, and it's because I'm a woman-owned business, or all kinds of reasons. But the financial piece of owning a business is super important. And it's one of the reasons most people fail, because they don't properly plan out the financial needs. All those people that you talk about, all those advisors, so, you know, people don't work for free necessarily. So like you said, you don't want to cheap out on that. And it's really important to understand that those bankers, they want to make loans. Believe me, they want to make loans. They're incented to make loans.
Right.
So if they're telling you no, there's a really good reason, and you should really pay attention to that, and then go back to the drawing board and find ways to build your resources.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.